Okay, wow, it's hot. I'm going to tell you a little story about something that happened last night that I thought was illuminating regarding the differences in Western and Asian thinking, particularly American and Japanese. Since I'm American, my wife is Japanese. I was at home and we were having, I was just sitting reading a book at the dining table there, and Yumiko and Emily were busy about doing stuff, and there's a little window behind me. And it was open, and outside that window is a parking lot. It's a big piece of land that the owner has basically made into a parking lot, and he rents those spaces out. It's very clear, signs everywhere. If you want to rent these spaces, call this number at the rental agency and you can rent a space. These things are all over Japan, where spaces at a premium, parking space is limited, and people rent spaces for their cars. You can't park 3 cars at a house in Japan unless you've got a mansion or something. I mean, a big place. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, in the parking lot there, it's normally very quiet. Dark out there, normally very quiet, but I could hear voices out there this evening. No big deal. Some guys are standing out there talking around their car. And about 15, 20 minutes went by. The voices are still out there. 30 minutes went by, and finally, I hear a new voice, and then I see a light out there. There's a police car out there, and the light's flashing. And there's a policeman, and the men are talking, and something's going on. I don't know what's going on. It's dark. I can't see anything. And about another, it must have been another 20 minutes passed, and after about 20 minutes, a third car, a vehicle shows up, and now it starts getting heated. There's more anger in the voices, and what's basically going on is that some dude was away at work. He parks, he pays for his rental space there. He was away at work. I think this guy's a construction worker. Those guys work hard, and he was away at work all day, and he came back to find somebody had parked in his spot, his little rental spot there, and it's like that was like 8 o'clock at night. No, it must have been later than that, because I've been out with Molly till 9:30, out in Molly and Tomoka till 9:30. This was like 10 o'clock at night. The guy gets home from work, he's really tired, and he finds that someone's parked in his parking spot. Well, he has no recourse. He can't move the car. All he can do is call the police, and that's why the police came out. The police run the registration, find out who the owner is, and manage to contact the owner. There's the foreigners. First said, hi. When a foreigner passes a foreigner on the old Tokaido Road. So, he's got a backpack like mine too. Anyway, so they contact the guy that owns the car that is parked in his spot, and another 20 minutes go by. I mean, it's going a long time. I mean, it's been far more than an hour. Finally, it's like 10:30 or something like this, and the last guy shows up. And what I thought, and it gets a little heated then, but I thought, by my standards, by American standards, it was mild. The one guy, the guy that had parked illegally, his case was that he had no idea that he thought that nobody was using that space, that it was an open space, that it wasn't being rented, so therefore available to use. It's a rental spot. It's for people to pay money to rent. If it's open, that means it's available. It doesn't mean it's open to anybody else. We all know that, right? This guy was clearly in the wrong. And he wasn't about to apologize. He wasn't going to apologize to the guy who did inconvenience. Now, the guy who did inconvenience was getting really upset because of this guy's attitude. I mean, upset in Japanese standards is pretty mild. He raised his voice a little bit. Look at that, Mama Ched. He got 2 kids on the bike with the dad. He started raising his voice a little bit, saying, I was at work all day, come home after a really hard day of work. I have to get up really early in the morning, and here I have to stand in this parking lot for like an hour and a half waiting for you to show up. And the guy finally apologizes. And then he goes on, he's still really mad. And he goes on, I can't believe you did this. Why would you ever do this? And the guy offers him money. And he's saying, no, I don't want your money. I just want your apologies. I just can't believe, why would you do this? So anyway, that was about the extent of it. A little bit of a temper there. A little bit of mild raising of voices. Very, very, by my standards as an American, very, very mellow. Okay, I'm going to cross the street here. Look at this empty Ginza area. We'll walk down here. Now here's where it gets interesting in my book. Finally, the guy that parked in the spot without due course, he took off. The guy was able to park his car. The police left. It was all done. Yumiko had heard of the same thing too. She was privy to all of this, and we started. She came by and she said something to me that I mistook, and led to a very fascinating conversation. Here's what happened. She came over to me and she said, that guy was really kind of low class. I think that's how she said it. That guy was kind of low class. And I thought, he's kind of unsophisticated. I think that's how she worded it. And I go, oh yeah. And I thought, oh yeah. I said, me too. I agree completely. I mean, what kind of a lowlife would park in some dude's parking spot in a rental parking spot? I mean, that's so uncool. What's he possibly thinking of? And then he goes, no. I'm not talking about him. She says, I'm talking about the other guy. The other guy? You mean the guy whose parking spot was pilfered? She says, yeah. She said, I can't believe how he lost his temper like that and made a scene like that and got all upset like that. I mean, that guy really, and he's like, he has no sophistication. I can't remember how Yumiko said it. I'm something like she has no sophistication or, really out of control. And I realized then a fascinating thing to my mind. Look at the kanji sketched in the. Somebody scratched into the wall of this gate here. Isn't that interesting? And I realized, and there's more here, I realized the fascinating thing was that to my mind, as an American, that man was totally in his rights to lose his temper. I would have lost my temper. That guy deserved to be a dressing down for what he had done, for violating that guy's parking spots and inconveniencing and such. He deserved a broken nose by some standards, but by Japanese standards, the man that lost his cool, that lost his composure, he was the one that was deserves the derision. Derision's not the right word. He was the one that was basically held in there. Oh my gosh, this guy is out of control. The other guy, I asked my wife. I said, what about the guy that did his thing? That took his spot. And she said, well, still that guy shouldn't have lost his temper like that. And the focus was completely different. And I realize now that as a foreigner, if I'm in this country, and if somebody violates my space or does something that basically warrants some frustration on my part, I will be seen. I won't receive the support of the Japanese if I lose my temper, because they value more the ability to control one's temper in appropriate circumstances than the process of addressing down, giving someone dressing down for a wrong that they have done. I guess this all comes back to the Confucian stuff about harmony. Keeping society in harmony, that's the number one thing in this country, even in the face of wrongdoers who will receive their own through different mechanisms, through the course of law or other things, or maybe just the fact of humility. Maybe that one guy that parked there, the very fact that he had to be brought in with the police there and all that stuff, and maybe that was embarrassment enough, and that anything more was not necessary. You can speculate as you like, and I will do the same. I'm going to continue walking and thinking about it. But a very fascinating thing where this incident occurred, and I and my wife drew very separate conclusions. Now she's very familiar with the Western mind. She's lived in the States for 10 years, and I've lived here for 10 years. So we have a bit of an understanding. She has a far aggressive language, but we have a bit of an understanding of one another. Yet, in spite of that, each of us retreated to our camps of what we thought was the proper way of handling such a circumstance. Fascinating. We are indeed the products and the children of our culture. Okay, everybody, have a great day. I'm going to go the wrong way on the street, on a one-way street. Take care. Bye-bye.